All right. So, well, welcome. Namaste. My name is Megan, and it's great to see all these familiar faces. Um, we'll start. This will be a 1 hour gentle flow class, and we'll start in a seat. And we're going to practice in a way that really focuses on our hips today. So, but I'll invite you to close your eyes for a few moments, excuse me, to center us and get us started. And what I'd like you to think about is the difference between feeling strain in our physical body, our emotional body, and our mind versus the feeling of intensity. Okay. So strain is this constant, continual stress on the body. And we sometimes hold our body in a certain ways, or we sometimes live in an emotional state or a psychological state where we are pretty much in a continual state of strain. And this obviously has some pretty detrimental effects on our body and on our mind and on our heart. But moving intentionally with awareness into places where we are feeling some intensity and doing that mindfully and doing it for the purpose of expansion is really what Hatha yoga means. Hatha means sun and moon energy coming together. The other way you could say that is intensity and release, effort and ease coming together. So it is where these two meet, which actually creates some intensity and some friction in our way of feeling like ourselves, that is the place where expansion happens. And ultimately, that's what we're here as human beings to do, to be on this path of continual expansion, not continual strain, not continually pushing ourselves beyond our capacity, but we are here to move ourselves into what could even be called uncomfortable positions and ways of being. And when I say move ourselves into ways of being, I don't just mean physically, which we do on our yoga mat, but also move into places where we're bumping up against fear. So that's the practice. And spring is the perfect time to kind of adapt or become reacquainted with this courageous center in ourselves. When we look out at the signs of spring coming our way, it kind of looks like beautiful growth and things springing forth. But think about all the intensity that plays a part in a bulb sprouting through the ground. Think about all the effort that has to go in from a tree that's like dormant for 4 or 5 months to come alive again. And so it requires this intensity. And that's what I'm inviting you to play with today on your mat. Okay? So if your eyes are closed, blink them open and bring your hands together in front of your heart like this and gaze down at your fingertips, okay? And have your fingertips of your left hand and your right hand pressing against one another. So you almost feel like some tension. It might even create some space between your palms. So the base of your palm or your hand and your fingertips are pressed together, and there's this little space in between there. And then as you're looking down at that, just keep the pressure at the base of your palms and let your fingertips open. so that you create like an opening flower gesture in your hands. And just look down there and see that space and the hands that are creating that space. Feel both the effort and the ease that are coming together to create this portal, this place that we can move into where expansion is possible. So let your hands and your fingertips come back together. Blink your eyes closed again. And then see yourself focusing on a particular area of your life where you want to exhibit more courage. Or maybe the way to say it is the place in your life where you want to spring forth with a little more vigor, a little more vitality, being a little more fearless in your approach, bringing a little more intensity to the equation. And then give yourself the gift of saying, that's the direction I'm going, and I'm going to head there pada pada. Pada means foot or step. So I'm going to go there step by step, but moving towards the center of that opening, knowing that that's where my evolution is taking me. That's where my next steps on my own personal expansion and transformation need to be. And then deepen your breath some. And feel how the inhale requires some effort to bring that full breath in. And notice how the exhale is more of a release, but at the very end of the exhale, exhibits some effort there too, so you press all the air out of the belly, making room for the next inhale, so that your next inhale, your next step forward to expansion, you have the most room to work with. And then the exhale is working towards getting all the breath out, a complete emptying of what doesn't serve you anymore. So you have room for a beautiful new beginning. And then let your hands rest down on your knees. Turn the backs of your hands onto your knees and turn your palms up, please. Let your fingertips cup in towards the center of your palm somewhat. And imagine that there are little pools of water in your palms. And water represents purification. Now inhale, sweep your arms out wide off to the side of your body. Take your hands up and over your head. And then turn your palms down towards the top of your head and just bring your hands down in front of your face. And imagine that this beautiful pure water is starting to wash over your body. Inhale, pull your arms out wide and up and over your head. Turn your palms down towards the crown of your head. And as you exhale, let that beautiful water purify your being, your mind, your body, and your spirit. Do that one more time. Inhaling and exhaling. And then tent your left hand off to the side. Inhale your right arm up. And as you exhale, tip over to the left side. And think about the space that you're creating between the ribs on the right side of your body. And breathe into those spaces, making more space. And let the little bit of the crunchiness you feel on the left side of your body just be there. Maybe lean a little bit deeper over to the left side, creating a little more contraction, and you could even say discomfort on the left side, knowing that that's in service to opening up the right side of the body. And then inhale back to center. Take your right hand over to the right side of your mat and inhale your left arm up. And now give the left side of the body the gift of expansion and let the right side contract some. Feeling the efforting and the opening, the expansion and the contraction happening on different sides of the body, and you're here right in the middle, taking it all in, benefiting from both. Good. Come back to center. Come forward into tabletop position, please. And once you arrive there, start to move through cow and cat. Match your movements to your breath. So as you breathe in, let your belly lower and your gaze lift. As you exhale, take your chin to your chest, round through your spine, and draw your navel up towards the ceiling. And then let that movement start to become rhythmic in alignment with your breath. And start with smaller movements, but then pada pada, step by step, let them start to become bigger. Let them move you right to the edge of where it doesn't feel like you can go much further. And if you did, it would strain the body. But you're okay moving in to some places that create intensity. And learning to know the difference between intensity and needless strain is a beautiful part of the practice. Good. Okay, come back to a level back. Extend your right leg behind you, but keep the ball mound of the foot on the floor. Press back and out through the right heel. And it'll even draw your upper body back some. I'm kind of demonstrating here. Whereas I press on my right heel or press into my right heel, my whole body shifts back some. Extend your left arm forward. And just feel yourself balancing here in the middle. And notice all really the work, the minute little shifts you need to do to stay in balance. If you want to test your balance a little more, find a little more intensity, lift your right leg up off the floor. Let both sides be engaged in the practice here. Breathe in. Bring your left elbow to your right knee, right underneath you. And then inhale, extend both ends again. As you exhale, crunch in again. And one more inhale takes you out long, and then back to tabletop on your exhale. Now stretch your left leg back. Start with the ball of the foot on the floor. Press out through the left heel. Notice how that draws the left leg longer, maybe shifts you back a little bit. Continue to draw the navel to the spine, not like you're holding your breath in or clenching your belly, but creating that intensity. This is where the fire starts to build in our body. The good kind of fire, the fire that creates sustaining energy. And then extend your right arm forward. And maybe you lift your left toes up off the floor. Breathe in here. As you exhale, right elbow comes to left knee. Inhale, come out long. Exhale, pull it in together. Once more, inhale out long. Exhale, draw in. Reach both ends out long again, and then come back to tabletop. Take a couple big movements. Let your shoulders and your hips and your head try to find different patterns of movement, breaking up the rigidity in the body, breaking up any kind of habitual movement. Good, and then curl your toes under, please, and come to downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, have your hands about shoulder distance apart. Look back. See what it would look like to have your feet about hip distance apart and create that. Okay? And then press away from the ground. Notice how that creates intensity, but also support in the upper body. And then press the heels down towards the floor and notice how that brings the lower body on board. Navel is drawing up towards your spine and your gaze is back towards your toes. And then notice the floor that exists between your hands and your toes. And see that as part of the equation, this beautiful Mother Earth that is 1/3 of this triangle we're creating. The upper body, the lower body, and the earth between those two, creating this beautiful, stable structure in your body. And then walk forward. Come into your first forward fold at the top edge of your mat, Uttanasana. Let your knees be bent quite generously here so that your ribs actually press into your thighs. Look back between your legs so your head is completely relaxed. Let your hands be supportive on the ground, fingertips or palms, whichever reaches, and sway a little bit here. Shift forward and backwards in the fronts of your feet and the heels of your feet. And just notice the intensity in the backs of your legs. Maybe it's a lot, maybe it's a little. Ask yourself if it's too much. If it's too much, bend your knees more. If it's not, maybe you straighten your legs slightly. And now roll your way up to a standing position. Once your shoulders are over your hips, sweep your arms up over your head, and then draw your hands down in front of your heart. Release your arms to your side and exhale all the breath out. As you inhale, sweep your arms up, hinge at your hips, exhale, and fold all the way down to the floor. Find just a halfway lift, but do it over the length of a whole inhale. And then forward fold, but make it take a whole exhale to happen. Now press into your feet, rise up again, take your arms out wide over your head, and that's the inhale. Draw your hands just to your heart as you exhale that breath out. Big sweep of your arms, breathe in, forward fold, and breathe out. Find a halfway lift again, so come up, and then bend your knees, plant your palms, step back to a downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, bring your knees to the floor. Lower down to your belly, keeping your elbows in nice and close. When you come down, roll slightly forward, flip your feet, rise up into Bhujangasana, cobra pose. So this pose we do with our back. The tendency is to press our hands in and let that bring us up. This is to build energy and strength at the base of the spine, mainly using the back muscles. So think about really light palms. Sometimes we cue it even floating your palms. Just light palms. See how much your back can bring you up. And just let that intensity be there as you inhale and rise, and exhale and lower. Once more, inhale, rise, exhale, lower. Shift back into child's pose just by pressing your hands into the ground, shifting your hips back over your heels, and allowing your forehead to touch down momentarily on the ground. Take a deep breath in here, and then exhale it out. Press up into tabletop, curl your toes under, lift your hips and your back into a downward facing dog. Inhale and exhale out. Walk forward as you breathe in, bringing your feet right up by your wrists, and then finish it with an exhale and a deeper forward fold. Press into your feet, inhale, rise, come all the way up to Urdhva Hastasana, high mountain pose. Exhale your hands to your heart. Big breath in takes the arms back up over your head, and the exhale brings you back down into Uttanasana, forward fold. An inhale is a halfway lift. Then you bend your knees, set your palms down, step just your right foot to the back of the mat. Lower your right knee to the floor. Bring your hands to the top of your left thigh. Now bring your shoulders back so they're stacked right over your hips here, so it's almost like good. Take a breath in right here. As you exhale, start to come forward. Here's a beautiful place to practice moving into the edge of your intense experience, okay? Being willing to go there, being willing to stay here with some breaths. But notice how you get to usher yourself into that place, and only you know what is too much and what is too little. And too little meaning you're not really working up to your edge. Okay, bring your right hand down to the floor, right next to your left toes, and then you can lift your right knee up and sweep your left arm up. So you're coming into a simple twist. Take a breath in here, and then wave your left hand back down by your front foot and step your right foot forward to fold in. Come all the way up, breathing in, finding your high mountain, and this time we'll go right back down into a forward fold. Come up halfway, but breathe in all the way. Set your hands down, step your left foot to the back of the mat. Lower your left knee down. Bring your hands up to the top of your right thigh and come back so shoulders are over hips. So here's your starting place. Take a nice big breath in, and then your exhale takes you into your depth. And you're noticing, is my tendency to hold back, or is my tendency to go too far? Finding that sweet spot where you're right on the edge of finding something a little bit more. And then left hand comes down, curl your left toes under, lift your left knee, and sweep your right arm up to the ceiling. Be in your simple twist. Gaze can be up at your right fingertips or somewhere else. And then bring your right hand down. Step back to a downward facing dog. Lower your knees to tabletop, and then lower yourself all the way down onto your belly. Flip your feet so the top of your feet are pressed into the floor. Remember, back muscles bring you up into your cobra pose. And then you exhale and you lower. Press to tabletop, curl your toes, go to downward facing dog. Inhale a breath here, and then exhale it out. Travel to the top of your mat as you breathe in. Fold into yourself as you breathe out. Rise on your inhale. We're just going to move all through that one breath, one movement. But bring your hands to your heart now. Release your arms to your side. Inhale a full breath here and exhale it out. Inhale, sweep your arms up over your head, please. Exhale, hinge and forward fold. Find a halfway lift, which is an inhale. Set your hands down, step your right foot back, lower your right knee. Inhale your hands up to the top of your left thigh. Remember, shoulders over hips. Exhale, come forward into the lunge. Lower your right hand, curl your back toes. Inhale your left arm up to the sky, simple twist. As you exhale, bring your hand down, bring your right knee down, and step back, step back and lower into a child's pose here. Okay. Then come right back up to a tabletop, curling your toes as you do, and press to downward facing dog. Inhale, and then travel to the top of your mat as you exhale. Rise all the way up, breathing in, finding a high mountain at the top of your inhale. Exhaling your hands to your heart. Big breath, take your arms up high. Exhale, hinge and forward fold all the way down to your mat. Step back with your left foot. Lower your left knee. Bring your hands up onto the top of your right thigh, shoulders over hips. Inhale. Exhale, slide into the intensity of the lunge. Bring your left hand down, wave your right arm up to the sky, back knee lifts as you come into your simple twist. And then as you exhale, bring it down and step your back foot, your left one, forward to meet your right one. And you're in a forward fold at the top of your mat. Rising, inhaling, exhaling, returning your hands to your heart space. Take a breath in here and exhale it out. Inhale, take your arms up and sit down in Utkatasana. So this is called awkward pose, actually, is what Utka translates as. So it's awkward because we're really kind of moving our hips back, pressing our heart forward, and hovering in that place where we're not really sitting down, resting into anything, but we're not standing up either. So the tendency is to want to press your knees together, keep a little space between your knees, then you'll feel your whole leg turn on. Okay? And just be there with that for a breath. Deepen into it for one more exhale, and then stand up and lift your heart and stand into a standing back bend. So let your arms drift behind you a bit, gaze go up. Then come forward and draw your hands to your heart space. So here we go again. Inhale, big sweep. Exhale, swan dive down to your mat. Step back with your right foot. Lower your right knee. Bring your hands to your thigh, or maybe your arms go up alongside your head. As you exhale, shift forward into the lunge. Bring your right hand down. Let your left arm go all the way up into the simple twist. And then wave your left hand down. Step back into a plank. And maybe you stay in plank, maybe your knees come down, and then you lower to your belly. Using your back muscles and your toes pressed into the mat, inhale, rise, and exhale, lower. Travel through tabletop to get to downward facing dog. Breathe in, walk to the top of your mat as you exhale. Rise all the way up into high mountain. Sit down into Utkatasana, awkward pose. Staying, letting the legs root down, a lift and a reach through the whole underside of the arms, up through the fingertips. Keep breathing. And then stand up and splash it open into a high mountain. And then bring your hands to your heart. Release your arms to your side. Take a full breath in here and a whole breath out. Arms go high on your inhale, and then you swan dive down as you exhale. Stepping back with the left foot, right away lower the left knee. Hands can stay on your right thigh or they can come up next to your head. Exhale, shift forward into the lunge. Bring your left hand down, sweep your right arm around and up. So you come into a simple twist. Bring your right hand down. Step back into plank by bringing the right foot back by the left one. Lower your knees or keep them lifted and come all the way down onto the belly. The Bhujangasana is an inhale. And then you lower on your exhale. Curl your toes, travel through tabletop, or go right to downward facing dog. Breathe in here. Look to the top of your mat and go there as you exhale. Fold in. Rise on your inhale. Bring your hands to your heart and release your arms to your side. So now I'm going to turn to face you. Press into your left foot. Lift your right knee up like you're stepping up on top of a big high step. Sweep your arms out wide, out to the side. Good. Now wrap your right arm under your left one to make eagle arms. Cross your right knee, the one that's lifted, over to the left side of your mat. Bend your left knee and let your right thigh come down onto the top of your left thigh. Maybe this is where you stay. Maybe you do a little bit more of a wrap with your toes. Garudasana. Excuse me. And then stand up, release the right knee, sweep your wings out wide, and come into Tadasana by bringing everything down towards the ground. Take a freedom breath. Inhale. Feel the release. Exhale. Feel the deepening into the body. And then we'll do the left side. Lift your left knee. Sweep your arms out. And then left arm wraps under right. Transfer your left knee to the right side of your mat. And then it's really like a bending the right knee so you're setting your left thigh down on top of it. Maybe there's more of a tuck. Maybe the left toes find the floor for a kickstand. And then stand up, untwist your left leg, sweep your arms out, and return to Tadasana. And another freedom breath. Inhale, float your arms. Exhale, hinge and forward fold down to the mat. Find your halfway lift. Breathe in, and then fold. Step your left foot, the left one, all the way to the back. Turn your heel in and down, and come up to warrior two. So as you come up, the arms kind of help propel you up. And then you deepen. And this is where you get to play with choosing your intensity as well. So as you draw the right knee forward, while it doesn't go past the right ankle, the idea is to come into as much of a right angle in the front leg as possible, and then to stay there and breathe. Beautiful. Turn your right palm up, tip it back into a peaceful warrior. And then bring your right arm down onto your right thigh to set up for a side angle. And notice if you came out of your legs some. So if you kind of lost the bend in your right knee, redo it. Okay? Then lift your left arm straight up towards the sky.
And then look up at it if you can, play with that balance, and then take your arm behind your back. So it's playing with a half bind. Maybe your hand comes all the way around, kind of reaches and holds on to some of the flesh of your right upper thigh. Think about creating this beautiful, intense place and breathing through it, knowing that this is in service to your expansion. If you're gripping through your toes, like kind of actually rippling up your yoga mat, notice that and release some of the tension there. Good. Unwrap your left arm, take it up to the sky. Look down, bring your hands down by your right foot, and then walk around to the left side of your mat, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. So all your toes are going to turn to the left. And then tense your hands out underneath your shoulders. As you inhale, press into your fingertips and come up like in a halfway lift position, navel to spine. As you exhale, let your elbows kind of bow out to the sides of the room and fold in. And then do that 2 more times. Coming up, lifting all the way up onto the fingertips. And then exhale, elbows bow out, head lowers, gaze goes all the way back between the legs. 1 more. Inhale. And then exhale. Now press up halfway. Place your left hand right in the middle between your shoulders. Take your right arm up to the sky. So it's going to sweep up and your upper body is going to spin around and kind of find a twist. And then now you're going to feel more length on the right side, less openness on the left. Keep the feet firmly planted on the ground, but not gripping. And maybe your right hand comes around behind your back and finds the top of your left thigh. And then release your right arm, bring it down, place it where your left one was, basically, and extend your left arm up to the ceiling. Maybe the left arm wraps around behind your back. Maybe it comes around and finds your right thigh, and you're able to create a little bit more of a twist in the upper body. Okay, good. Release the left arm. Take it up to the ceiling, and then bring it down by your right hand. Now walk both your hands towards your left foot. So you're going to turn around towards the back of your mat. Your left toes are going to face the back of your mat. Your right toes come into Warrior Two position. And on your inhale, you rise up and you come into Warrior Two. And then think about creating the pose for maximum benefit to you, which means not holding back and not going too far, but finding that sweet place where you are really expressing yourself. Notice if you're taking and holding unneeded tension in your shoulders. That's one of the hiding places, the more typical ones. And let that go. Now tip back into peaceful. On your inhale, sweep the left arm up. Cartwheel your arms down to the floor. Turn your back heel up. Lift your left arm up. Look up at it for a simple twist. And then exhale your left arm back down. Travel back around to the side of your mat and fold in 1 more time here. This time maybe you reach and find your ankles and you hold on a bit and you help yourself find a little bit more depth in the forward fold. Think about taking your sit bones up towards the ceiling, lifting and spreading your sit bones, rolling the pinky toe side of your feet onto the floor so the whole inner leg gets activated in the shape. One more breath here. And then press your hands right into the floor underneath your shoulders. Come up halfway. Walk back towards the top edge of your mat. And step back into downward facing dog, please. Inhale through the nose. And open your mouth and exhale it out. Discharging any extra heat the body may have, or any extra tension or emotional buildup the body and the mind may have. Beautiful. Now look forward towards your hands. Okay. Bring your right knee up behind your right wrist. Wiggle your left leg all the way back. And then bring your right toes up a little bit towards your left wrist. So we're setting up for a pigeon. Okay. This idea of getting your right shin parallel to the front of the mat, it doesn't happen very often. Okay. So, but stay here perched up. This experience of pigeon is completely different than the forward fold one. So close your eyes even here and scan your body. And just notice how weight is distributed. And see if you can center down right through where your legs are attached to your torso. See if that spot right between your legs can get closer to the earth. See if your shoulders are crunched up towards your ears, and if they are, relax them down a bit. Think about drawing the left hip and the left shoulder forward a titch, so that if somebody were looking at you from the front of your mat, they would basically see you as squared to the top of your mat. Okay, now walk your hands forward, pada pada. Coming forward, laying your belly down over your right leg. Then once you get here, this is a really interesting place to notice habit, I think. Some of us maybe stop here on our elbows because it's where we've always gone. But we could experiment with releasing into a deeper expression. Maybe you try that and you get a really strong signal. No, don't go further. Listen to that. Okay? But notice if you've just stopped in a certain place because you've always stopped there. And maybe you go a fraction further today. Okay? So come into your deeper expression, the deepest one you're going to practice today. And listen to the sensation of the body. You'll probably feel it the most in your right hip, right glute, right thigh. And answer that intensity with your breath. Taking the longest, most even inhales and exhales you can. So it's said in yoga that when you want to exit the pose, that's when the pose begins. Meaning that it's basically our mind, most often, that takes us out of the equation. We have these ideas about how long we should be in a certain shape. Or, what feels right or what feels good, and staying just past what we ordinarily do is where the real expansion, you could even call it magic, starts to happen. So give yourself the gift of one more moment here, leaning in and surrendering simultaneously. Now lift your head up. Bring your hands back so you can lift your upper body up and swing your left leg around, bringing it off on an angle. Okay. Find a way to sit nice and evenly through the base and both sit bones. Your right foot, is just tucked into the left thigh. Little space between your heel and the center of your body, though. Reach your arms up over your head. Turn towards your left toes. And as you exhale, go forward. Go about what feels like halfway for you. And inhale, come back up. Next time you go down, go a little bit further than you did last time. And then on your inhale, draw yourself up. This time, when you exhale, go to your depth of experience for you today. Think about drawing the right hip and the right shoulder forward and down, and drawing the left hip back and down. So this idea of laying your upper body over your left leg becomes the practice. Notice if you're tensing your jaw or your cheekbones or your forehead, and release all those muscles. Then walk your hands up your left leg. Just take your hands like shoulder distance apart. Spin over to the right side of your mat and make like a little push-up over there. So you're going to lift up off your left sit bone, press your chest down between your hands like you're making a push-up shape, and then press back up. And then bring both legs out long in front of you. Bounce your legs some. And then cross your legs, roll forward, and bring yourself back into downward facing dog, please. And then look forward and begin to bring your left knee behind your left wrist. Do that work of really lengthening back like we did with the lunges at the beginning. Shoulders should roughly come back over your hips to start with. So there's this real and a quite intense experience of trying to draw the upper body straight up and down here. Look back over your right shoulder. Make sure your right leg isn't splayed off to the side, but tracking right behind you. And then tense your fingers, close your eyes, and stay with the experience. Scanning the body, sending breath into all parts of the body, releasing unneeded tension. Most of us have our typical hiding places for tension: the hips, the belly, the shoulders, are typical ones. Notice your body. And now begin to walk forward with this idea of finding that sweet spot where there's effort and ease. Maybe the better way to say it, that effort and ease is sthira and sukham, which is one of the few passages in the Yoga Sutras about how we are supposed to practice yoga asana. There's really only 3 that address the whole physical practice, and one of them says practice with sthira, effort, and sukham, ease. Here too, left hip is drawing back, right hip forward and down, creating that level hip experience. And just the work, the tiny minute adjustments that you need to do to draw the left hip crease back and the right hip bone, that big bone that's on the front of your right hip and pelvis, drawing that down and forward. Just notice how when you just play with those little things, that experience transfers throughout your entire body. Notice if your mind is counting or calculating. Just breathe into the sensations in the body. Okay, now walk your hands back. Swing your right leg around and off to a 45-degree angle towards the front right corner of your mat. Adjust yourself so you're sitting up nice and tall and extend your arms up over your head. And we'll take 3 attempts at our forward fold, each one a little further. Okay, so breathe in, use the exhale to come forward about halfway. Inhale, pull back up. Exhale, go with the intention to lean in a little further. And then inhale, come up. And exhale, go to your depth. And then just practice here. Practice telling your mind and your whole being that you're practicing leaning into difficulty, leaning into the way life is presenting itself right now. Actually growing within your understanding that how life is presenting itself to you right now is exactly how you prescribed it. At some level, you're being asked for this situation because the universe knows this situation is optimal for your expansion. So accept that the universe is always inviting you into a bigger, more expanded version of you. Okay, walk your hands up your right leg. Bring your legs together out in front of you. Bounce them a little bit if that feels good. Knead the tops of your legs all the way down to your ankles if that feels good. And then bend your knees so your feet are flat on the floor, about hip distance apart. Extend your arms out in front and come down. Keep the texture and the structure in the upper body so you're not rounding because you're drawing yourself down. In one fluid motion, if you can. And then when you're down, bring your heel bones right up next to your sit bones.
Have your feet hip distance apart. We're going to do 3 dynamic bridges, and then one more thing, and then Shavasana, okay? So use your feet to start the shape. Press your feet into the ground. Notice how that lightens your backside. And then keep going on the inhale, and simultaneously sweep your arms up alongside your head. That's the shape of the inhale. And the exhale is coming back down. One fluid movement, no rushing. 2 more. Inhale, start with the feet. Press them into the floor. Lift up through the whole middle and then upper body. And then exhale, lower back down. One more dynamic bridge pose. Inhale, lifting. And exhale, returning. Beautiful. Bring your arms out like a T. Plant your thighs into your belly. Take a deep breath in, and then let both your knees go over to the left side of your mat. So let them swing down. Recenter your upper body so your right shoulder connects with the earth again. And then turn your head to the right. Now here, let the right hip bone, just the top one, move towards the top of your mat. Again, only you'll be able to detect it. But create a little bit more space along the right ribs, the right side body, by moving the right hip away from your face. Keeping your right shoulder connected to the floor. And those 2 actions create a twist and some nice length on the right side of the body. And then let your right knee come up and the left one follow, so you're back in the middle. And use your next exhale to go off to the other side, to the right. Again, make those adjustments in the upper body so that your shoulders are connected. Blink your eyes closed and see your left hip bone moving away from your face. And then maintain that length, but continue to breathe. Travel back to the center on an inhale, letting your left leg lead and your right one follow. Set your feet back down on the floor and let your knees plie out to the side. Finding Supta Baddha Konasana, just for a few breaths here. And now soften the whole front of the body. Brene Brown has this saying, strong back, soft front. Find that. Your back is strong because it's supported by Mother Earth. Your front is soft because you're allowing it to be. Because you know that a soft front makes you more connected to whatever is coming out in front of you. But instead of deflecting it, you're going to let it come to you and experience it. And now you can lengthen your legs out, separate your legs, let your ankles relax so your toes curl out to the side. Palms are up, the whole back body, pressing tenderly down into the planet, while the front side receives, while the front side expands and radiates
out and forward. Deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Hug your thighs up towards your belly. Gently roll to the left side. Use your right arm to press your way up into Sukhasana, easy seat. Place your left hand across the front of your heart and raise your right hand up like you're almost raising your hand in class, something, or getting ready to say the Pledge of Allegiance. And this is Ubayi Mudra, okay? Fearlessness Mudra. Trust that your heart is speaking to you, that it only has wisdom. It only has your expansion in mind. And let your right hand represent the way you're going to move forward. Courageous and pada, step by step. Bring your hands together in front of your heart space again. Look down at your fingers. Keep the base of your hands connected as you let your fingers part away. Gaze down and see nothing but potential. See nothing but love. Bring your palms together. The love and light that's inside of me honors and sees the love and light inside of you. Namaste. Appreciate you all. Thanks for staying with your practice. Enjoy the rest of this day. I think it's brightening up a little bit, but it's nice and warm.